The Kalam Cosmological Argument. What is the Kalam Cosmological Argument? Who likes it, who hates it, and why? A little while ago I made a video, 3 Absurd Apologetic Arguments, where I illustrated how laymen abuse and misuse philosophical and scientific information to make absurd leaps of logic without supporting data. I cannot read my script while you are in the way, Miss Bandit. Thank you. Example. Evolution to origins of life, to origins of the universe, to God. Biology to organic chemistry, to theoretical physics, to philosophy or theology. Now, we've just had a very nice tour of a university without ever setting foot in a classroom. I received several wonderful, thoughtful, serious, and not absurd comments, which totally missed the point of my first video, but that's okay because this video will address those points. Hello friends, welcome to the Secular Scriptures. I'm Gail. This is another lighthearted and silly video, heavy emphasis on the silly here, but hopefully we'll all learn something too. I am not arguing for or against the existence of God, nor am I telling you what to believe. I'm only looking at the facts, merits, and faults of the Kalam Cosmological Argument. On a related note, I'm delighted to dust off my minor in philosophy from over 25 years ago, and to be honest, I just wanted an excuse to draw cats in MS Paint. Okay, let's get into it. A very brief history of the Kalam Cosmological Argument. It starts with Aristotle's prime mover concept in the 300s BCE in Greece, which was picked up and adjusted in the 500s by Christian theologian John Philoponus from Egypt to align with the biblical creation from nothing and arguing that time has a beginning. Then we hop over to Persia in the 1100s during the Islamic Golden Age, and a Muslim polymath named Al-Ghazali gives us this. Every being which begins has a cause for its beginning. Now the world is a being which begins, therefore it possesses a cause for its beginning. Note, that is not about the universe, that is about the world. In the European Middle Ages, Saints Aquinas and Bonaventure bicker back and forth about this for a while, and the cosmological ball gets kicked around between various theologians and philosophers for a few hundred years and ends up dead in the water by the 18th century because we don't know what we don't know. Along comes William Lane Craig, a Southern Baptist in the 1970s, who picks it up, rubs off some of the mud, and presents the apologetic argument we have today. The Kalam Cosmological Argument is a deductive argument. Therefore, if its premises are true, the conclusion must also be true. If the premises are true, it becomes what is known as a sound argument. That is a really big if, because it's possible to have a valid argument where the premises are not factually correct. Here's a very silly illustrated example. A sound argument. All cats are mammals. Bandit is a cat, therefore Bandit is a mammal. A valid argument. If cats can fly and Bandit is a cat, then Bandit can fly. This would be news to Bandit. Please note, no small bandit cats were harmed in the making of this diagram. It is also important to note that arguments are not evidence. Those two are very different things. So we understand the difference between valid and sound and argument versus evidence. Let's take a look at Kalam. The initial syllogism of the Kalam Cosmological Argument. Number 1, everything that begins to exist has a cause. Number 2, the universe began to exist. Number 3, therefore the universe has a cause. Number 4, if the universe has a cause, then an uncaused personal creator of the universe exists who, without the universe, is beginningless, changeless, immaterial, timeless, spaceless, and enormously powerful. And premise 5 is therefore an uncaused personal creator of the universe exists who, without the universe, is beginningless, changeless, immaterial, timeless, spaceless, and enormously powerful. Now is the time to start typing your rebuttals or support in the comments, and you can like and subscribe while you're at it. So, there is some conceptual analysis of the cause. William Lane Craig argues that the cause of the universe must embody specific properties. Uncaused, otherwise an infinite regress of causes would arise, arguing against infinity. Timeless, therefore changeless, spaceless, immaterial, and enormously powerful in creating space-time and its contents ex nihilo, in other words, from nothing. Personal, possessing non-deterministic agency in creating the universe from a timeless state without prior determining conditions. Singular, per Occam's razor, in the absence of good reasons to believe in the existence of more than one uncaused cause. Christians love the Kalam Cosmological Argument. If it's not obvious, the purpose of this argument is to say that God exists and created the universe from nothing on purpose. I don't think it quite gets us to the Christian God, but it certainly tries. It kind of, sort of accomplishes the omni-God, all good, all powerful, all present, all knowing, etc. It doesn't exactly state that, but we're in the good enough territory here. We will circle back to this later because there are problems. The logic. In terms of logical syllogisms, premises 1 through 3 are valid. 4 and 5 make some big leaps, but we will get there. The criticism. The soundness of Kalam is its main weakness for several reasons. It relies heavily on the causal principle, asserting that nothing cannot come from nothing, which means nothing had to come from something, which then negates the first nothing. It then engages in special pleading by claiming that the something is both outside of reality and can impact reality. Number 2, it assumes that infinities both do and don't exist. It denies the possibility of an infinite universe while asserting an infinite creator God. Number 3, it presumes time is linear, therefore has a beginning. There are big problems here. Number 4, it makes a leap in assuming the something it has already assumed has any of the characteristics listed, much less intentions, motivations, or goals. I need to note that I am not a scientist, much less a theoretical astrophysicist or magical mathematician. This is not my territory. I raise chickens and make silly artwork. Okay? Okay. At this point in the process of determining the soundness of the Kalam cosmological argument, we must cross over from philosophy into science and math. It is also important to note that based on the current information available, the scientific answer to the origins of the universe is we don't know yet. But there are some pretty good ideas based on data, and more pours in all the time from things like the John Webb Space Telescope. Will humans solve the riddle of the origins of the universe next week? No. With all of those caveats that half of you will ignore, let's go to what the science does say. The leading models for the early universe are, number 1, the Big Bang Theory, which posits that the universe expanded from a hot, dense state 13.8 billion years ago, roughly, with the lambda CDM model being the most precise version, incorporating cosmic inflation and dark matter energy. Conventional physics breaks down at the singularity, so this is not an origin of the universe theory. It is an early universe theory. That is important. Second, inflationary models, eternal inflation and multiverse funsies. Third, quantum gravity, which involves general relativity, quantum mechanics, and space-time. Fourth is cyclical models, which play with ideas of infinity. There is crossover among all of these, and this is so far above my pay grade, it's not even funny. But we only need 3 simple questions to see which, if any of these models, do or don't support the premises. 1. Which models have a beginning, infinity, or combination of the two? 2. Which models require a cause, say there may be a cause, or do not require a cause? 3. Which models say the universe came from nothing versus coming from something? Because this is YouTube and not a meta-analysis, I picked the top 5 theories and made a super sophisticated chart. Ta-da! For does the universe have a beginning? In the yes column, we have Kalam, Big Bang, cosmic inflation, and kind of maybe yes-ish, but not the way you think for quantum gravity and multiverse. And then maybe no for quantum gravity and multiverse, and definitely no for cyclical. Quantum gravity isn't a complicated relationship with beginnings. Kalam isn't doing too badly here. Does the universe have a cause? In the yes column, we have Kalam, cosmic inflation, quantum gravity, and multiverse. In the maybe or unknown, we have Big Bang and cyclical, which also happens to be in the no because science is fun like that. Again, Kalam is doing all right for premises 1 through 3. Did the universe come from nothing? Kalam is the only yes here. The others say no, but for all different reasons. So, positive to mixed results on a beginning and a cause, but Kalam flops on the nothing end of things. Again, this is far from exhausted. If you want a bigger chart, I certainly won't stop you from making one. The math. Okay, this is not my area at all, and I am not even going to attempt to suss any of this out. But again, just looking at the logic and asking two simple questions will satisfy soundness. What is time? Does time have a beginning? While science may argue over infinities, math does not. Infinity is entirely possible within mathematics. This spills over into time, where many mathematical models do not have infinite pasts or futures, so according to the numbers, a point of beginning is unnecessary. On one hand, this does not support a beginning for the universe, and on the other hand, it could potentially support an eternal creator God. So that's fun. Briefly moving back over to science and asking the first question, what is time? Time is a way to measure events in space. This makes time a product of space, and without space, time does not exist. So, when space exists, time exists, but only if something happens. This is why in science there are proposals that the universe has a beginning because something happened and then another something happened. What that something was and what happened to it, we don't know. Premises 4 and 5 need their own section because there are multiple claims made about the nature of this prime mover creator God. Since the creator of the universe posited here is outside of space and time, this is distinctly metaphysical, not physical, and therefore not in the realm of testable science. Maybe multiverse theory could accommodate this, but that's really trying to wedge something in where it doesn't quite fit. We are now firmly in the realm of philosophy and theology, and that said, I'm going to refer back to science only because that is brought into the argument by others. There are 6 claimed characteristics of the creator God of the Kalam Cosmological Argument. Beginningless, meaning eternal. If everything that exists must begin to exist, then this God needs a beginning. Otherwise, that is special pleading. If eternities are a thing, this is a non-issue, but that would also mean it's possible to have an eternal universe. Changeless, which means remaining the same. If something is changeless, it's going to be difficult for that thing to do stuff, because doing something would necessitate a change of some form. So a thing which is changeless cannot act, and in taking the action of creating this universe, this would be a change. This is especially problematic if linked to Yahweh, but that's a different discussion entirely. Immaterial, which can mean unimportant or irrelevant, or the spiritual rather than the physical. Leaving aside the great potential for humor here, we will go with spiritual, and you have no idea how difficult that was for me because that joke just wrote itself. I'm going to put dark matter into a separate box because I don't think anyone is arguing that dark matter is God. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But because dark matter does exist, and it does impact matter through gravity, and it doesn't account for more of the empty space, I'd say it's also conceptually possible for something else to have similar properties, though this is getting really sticky and word tricky in ways that are way above my pay grade, and it's still within reality, not outside of it, so like, maybe? Just don't expect me to respond to this in the comments unless you plan on paying to spay one of my cats, which you can do by supporting me on Patreon, link in the description in the bio. Timeless, not affected by the passage of time. This is time defined as the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. So again, we are in the realm of mathematical infinities here, as time can absolutely be infinite depending on the models, or it can have a distinct starting point based on events in physical space. And while Kalam could potentially work in either A, finite linear time, or B, infinite loop time, this does require some adjustments to the logical syllogism. Also, as with the unchanging characteristic, being timeless would negate action on this creator God's part. Spaceless, having no limits. Okay, well this is slightly less of a problem for a deist or pantheist style God who arguably is the universe. This definitely becomes an issue for a personal creator God that wants to directly interact with itty-bitty humans, have picnics with his pet person, hurl fireballs at people while camping in a tent in the desert, and specifically resides in a place like heaven. This would also preclude God not being in hell. And in my opinion, this makes it way more problematic for the unstated goal, which is to get to the Christian God. And I'm sure you will tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Have at it, please. Enormously powerful. Having extraordinarily great strength, influence, or effectiveness. These are all in direct opposition to being changeless and timeless and spaceless, because to be powerful, one must employ action, which takes time, which is necessary for change. It also leads directly to the problem of the omnipotence paradox, which asks, can God make a rock so heavy he can't lift it? If God can make it, he's not all-powerful because he can't lift it. If he can't make it, he's not all-powerful because he can't make it. And now this gets claimed as a contradiction in terms, which I agree with, but I also think that Kalam falls victim to the same problem in terms of a failure of logic. Also, if God has to obey the rules of logic, he's not all-powerful. He's subject to something greater than himself. And that just gets so messy, and he limits himself is a bad cope. Objections to the Kalam Cosmological Argument. From nothing is the biggest scientific issue for the soundness of 1 through 3. None of the top 5 cosmological models support that. They all either operate on a mathematical infinity or have a start point with something like energy becoming more of something, or something then more spread out. It's also difficult to extrapolate real-world now happenings from billions of years ago then happenings, as conditions are not the same. Basically, we need more data instead of jumping to God, though that is a nice cognitive placeholder. The uncaused cause may violate its own logic in 1 through 3 by not having a cause and then engaging in special pleading to not need one. If everything needs a cause, infinity solves the no end of causes issue nicely, and an infinite loop is a possibility within various theories of time. We have another case of special pleading. The universe exists within space and time, which is a given, but claiming that the cause, which could be entirely natural, exists outside of that and has the ability to impact it and is a personal creator God, that's a stretch, a jump, and a leap. And again, we need more data for the science. A leap of logic or a non sequitur is made between 1 through 3 and 4 and 5. Even if we grant the universe having a beginning and a cause, that does not necessitate a super powerful personal creator God that is outside of space and time. There are multiple possibilities of a cause, including no cause. We could have multiple causes or contributing factors. A very small cause, a natural cause. If it was God's, there may be many gods. Maybe God became the universe. It's possible that God came into being at the same time as the universe, or sometime after, or that humans made gods to explain the universe. You get the idea. The universe exists, therefore God did it, is not supported when the potential causes may be totally natural, explained by science as technology improves and we learn more information. It is totally fine to believe in God in whatever flavor or form you prefer. William Lane Craig and company have offered rebuttals to many of the objections above. Personally, I really dislike the Kalam Cosmological Argument because I just don't think it gets you to a personal God, much less the Christian God, nor does it get you to the beginning of the universe. I find it frustrating. I think Kalam relies too much on special pleading on the scientific end, and I think it almost completely misses the mark in terms of theology by focusing too much on the moment of creation and not enough on things that actually matter in life. It's cool, but ultimately immaterial to us today. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people in the comments being like, but it's so cool. Yes, it's cool. And it doesn't matter. It's not going to pay my electric bill. While I am obviously not a theoretical physicist, I think that the answer to how the universe began is going to be something small and simple and totally natural, like a bit of energy got really excited when it rubbed against another bit of energy in the singularity because Brownian motion or some shit like that, and everything went kaboom. Obviously not, because that's not scientifically correct, but whatever, I'm not a scientist. On a metaphysical level, I think if there is a God, that God grew with the universe, not outside of it. But I was a deist for a long time, so take that for whatever it's worth. For the Christian God, there is no real mention of a universe in the Bible as we understand it today. On the literal level, this was a dinner plate world with a glass cloche over it stuck at the bottom of a swimming pool where the stars were angels and did God's bidding, and the earth was at the center of everything. While I'm delighted that the vast majority of Christians have moved on from young flat earth, I think that the connection between the God of Kalam and Yahweh or El is tenuous at best. Realistically, this is a Canaanite storm and war god which was very much on this planet and specifically for that people group. And while he changed and continues to change with the times, I think the Kalam cosmological argument is a case of chasing God. First, God was in the forest, and we went to the forest and God wasn't there. Then God was on the mountain, and when we climbed the mountain, God wasn't there. Then God was in the sky, and when we flew into the sky, God wasn't there. Then God was in space, and when we went to space, God wasn't there. Now God must be outside of space and time. It'll be quite the trick to get there and not find him. You don't need science or logic to believe. It's not a prerequisite. Just believe, or don't. Science will take care of itself, and if God exists, not some immaterial, mystical nothingness out there in the far unreachable arena beyond time and space. That's just silliness. Thank you for joining me on the Secular Scriptures. If you enjoyed this video, you ought to like and subscribe. Therefore, like and subscribe. They should like and subscribe, huh, Bandit?
Look at this cat. She is so stinking cute. Do you see this face? This face.